Hello, everyone, and welcome tonight. My name is Glenn Rawson. It is Wednesday night, August 27th, and I'm coming to you from Dublin, Ireland. Just to give you a little bit of a report, we toured Dublin and all the way down to London for the last 2 weeks, and we sent that group home 2 days ago. They're back in the States now, and we loved them. We had a wonderful time. They were about as perfect of a group as you can possibly imagine. No problems whatsoever that we couldn't handle. They were a lot of fun. Then we flew back up here to Dublin, and we picked up another group today, and we'll be going back down the same tour. Today, as you may have seen earlier on my short little broadcast, we were in Dublin, and we were downtown today at Trinity College Dublin and the Book of Kells. Now, tomorrow we'll be leaving and heading for Belfast, where we'll continue that same tour and wind up down in London in about, 11, 12 days, something like that from now. So I love this tour and I love this land because it's the land of my heritage. And it's always fun to bring people over here whose ancestry come from here, who have a real desire to see these countries and to love them the way we do. So that's where we are, and that's what's going on. Now, just by way of information, if you're interested, next August 2026, we will be back here again doing back-to-back tours of the British Isles by land. And if I had my preference, I would see the British Isles by land because you get to go right through the countryside. You get to see the little villages and the stone fences and the patchwork fields on the hills, and you get to see the artifacts inland and how the people really live on the interior. So I really love this land tour, and we'll be doing it back to back with Fun for Less in August of 2026. If you're interested in that tour and this next one I'm going to mention to you, I have never had the chance to do this tour, and I am so looking forward to it. In connection with America 250, Fun for Less has put together a tour that will visit all of the sites starting from Boston and going clear down to Jamestown. It's America 250 and the sites of the American founding. That tour will also be with Fun for Less, and that will be in September of 2026. Now catch this. If you'd like to go on either of those tours or any others that I would like to do with Fun for Less, then call Brittany at 801-619-1022. That's the Fun for Less number, 801-619-1022, and ask for Brittany. Now also, guys, the book 6 from Glenn Rawson Stories, the collection for this last year of the stories going out to all the VIPs and those who want copies of the book, that book is almost here. Keep an eye out on the website. That will be the book 6 collection, Glenn Rawson Stories, okay? Now, for tonight, this is a short fireside. It's not very long because I wasn't there Sunday. And frankly, Sunday, I just wasn't able to, which there was just no time to prepare. So I promised tonight I would do a short one. I have 3 brand new stories to tell you that I haven't shared before. And here's the first one. There have been those individuals in our history who either came from Scotland or were educated in Scotland and have accomplished great things on our behalf. One of those, a man virtually forgotten, is a man named Nathan Smith. Now, he grew up on a farm in Chester, Vermont, and for a time served in the Vermont militia, possibly even during the American Revolution. And then I guess you could say fate took an interesting turn because when he was 24 years old, Nathan Smith assisted a man named Josiah Goodhue to perform an operation. Literally, it was an amputation. and Nathan Smith was fascinated. It is said that he determined right then and there that he wanted to become a physician, a doctor. Now, in those days, you didn't go to medical school, you just apprenticed to a doctor. And for 3 years, he studied with Dr. Goodhue. Then he opened up his own practice as a circuit riding physician. Can you imagine? In Cornish, Vermont, a circuit riding physician. But I guess along the way, Nathan Smith realized he needed more education. So he enrolled at Harvard Medical School, where he obtained an MB, or a Bachelor of Medicine degree, in 1790. Now, he was one of the first graduates of Harvard Medical School. Around 1796, it would appear right at 1796, Nathan Smith realized he still wanted to learn more. So he left the United States and he went to Edinburgh, Scotland, where he studied medicine. Now, at that time, Edinburgh was considered the top English-speaking medical center in the world. Literally, and no pun intended, the cutting edge on medicine and surgery. Well, he didn't take a degree. He spent about a year attending classes, clinics, and learning. Edinburgh emphasized the very careful science of medicine, anatomy, clinical practice, and learning to be a doctor, both with the book and on hand. Well, literally what he did was absorb a whole new way of practicing medicine based on science. With that, he returned to the United States, and in 1797, he was granted permission to open up Dartmouth Medical School, where for many years, Nathan Smith was the only professor. He taught anatomy, surgery, chemistry, clinical medicine, pharmacology. He taught everything, and he drew no salary while he was doing it. Literally, he brought the Scottish Enlightenment and the cutting edge of medicine to the American frontier. Later on, Nathan Smith went on to establish medical colleges in Vermont, then in Yale, and lastly, Bowdoin in Maine in 1820. Dr. Nathan Smith was a medical pioneer and a brilliant man. As I mentioned, he got no salary for being a professor. Can you imagine this? He traveled all over the countryside on horseback, attending to his patients, with his surgical instruments packed in his saddlebags, accompanied oftentimes by an entourage of students, ministering wherever he was needed, and sometimes taking no salary, or no charge, even from the patients. Nathan Smith passed away January 26, 1829, at New Haven, Connecticut, still a practicing physician and professor. Now, why do I mention this gifted man, surely raised up by the Almighty? Yes, because he was a medical pioneer and a great scientist, but also because in the year 1812, it was he who used his genius and skill to save the diseased life and leg of a young boy named Joseph Smith Jr. An operation that the records reveal he performed without charge. The only man in the United States at that time capable, who had the vision and knowledge and necessary surgical experience to deal successfully with Joseph Smith's medical problems, and he was only a few miles away down the road. Dr. Nathan Smith and the hand of the Lord. Now, next story, also from the British Isles. This story is pretty intense for some, so I hope it's not off-putting when I share this with you. Hang on just a second. Oh, we've got a great big... Hang on a second. Okay, I hope that works a little bit better now. I had a great big halo shining around me, and it looked kind of funny. Okay, here we go. All right. This is a pretty intense story. And some people might wonder if it's appropriate, but it took place here in England. In a few days, my group will be in Preston, England, where this event happened. The apartment where this happened still stands. I share this with you because of the principle that's taught at the very end. July 30th, 1837, Preston, England. Heber C. Kimball and his missionary companions were sleeping in their lodgings at Wilfrid Street when the following occurred. Heber relates, quote, Sunday, July 30th, about daybreak, Elder Isaac Russell, who had been appointed to preach on the obelisk in Preston Square that day, who slept with Elder Richards in Wilfrid Street, came up to the third story, where Elder Hyde and myself were sleeping, and called out, Brother Kimball, I want you should get up and pray for me that I may be delivered from the evil spirits that are tormenting me to such a degree that I feel I cannot live long unless I obtain relief. Now, Heber said, I had been sleeping on the back of the bed. I immediately arose, slipped off at the foot of the bed, and passed around to where he was. Elder Hyde threw his feet out and sat up on the bed, and we laid hands on him, I being mouth, and prayed that the Lord would have mercy on him and rebuked the devil. While thus engaged, I was struck with great force by some invisible power and fell senseless on the floor. The first thing I recollected was being supported by Elders Hyde and Richards, who were praying for me. Elder Richards having followed Russell up to my room, Elders Hyde and Richards then assisted me to get on the bed, but my agony was so great I could not endure it. And I arose, bowed my knees, and prayed. I then arose and sat up on the bed when a vision was opened to our minds, and we could distinctly see the evil spirits who foamed and gnashed their teeth at us. We gazed upon them about an hour and a half by Willard's watch. We were not looking towards the window, but towards the wall. A space appeared before us. Then they came towards us like armies rushing to battle. They appeared to be men of full stature, possessing every form and feature of men in the flesh, who were angry and desperate. And I shall never forget the vindictive malignity depicted on their countenances as they looked me in the eye. And any attempt to paint the scene which then presented itself or portray their malice and enmity would be vain. I perspired exceedingly, my clothes becoming as wet as if I'd been taken out of the river. I felt excessive pain and was in great distress for some time. I cannot even now look back on the scene without feelings of horror. Yet, by it, I learned the power of the adversary, his enmity against the servants of God, and got some understanding of the invisible world. We distinctly heard those spirits talk and express their wrath and hellish designs against us. However, the Lord delivered us from them and blessed us exceedingly that day. End of quote. Well, that troubled Heber for some time. Later on, after his mission, once back in the States, Heber asked the prophet Joseph Smith why, and had he done something wrong to cause that to happen, to which the prophet is reported to have said, quote, "No, Brother Heber, at that time you were nigh unto the Lord. There was only a veil between you and him, but you could not see him. When I heard of it, it gave me great joy, for I then knew that the work of God had taken root in that land. It was this that caused the devil to make a struggle to kill you. The nearer a person approaches the Lord, a greater power will be manifested by the adversary to prevent the accomplishment of his purposes." End of quote. I share that story because two reasons. One, a witness that the devil is real and has power and don't mess with him. But two, the more you make an effort to do good and be good, the more the power of evil will be arrayed to stop you. Therefore, fight on. Don't give up. Last story, as promised. Again, on our tour, now we take you to Preston, where these events that I just told you about, where they happened. But somewhere towards the end of this tour, I will be taking my group down to Stonehenge. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up on the internet. But I'm sure most of you are familiar with the great standing stones of Stonehenge. This story comes to you in the spirit of Elijah. I've been to Stonehenge many times over the years. Each time I come, I walk all about the stones, listening to the audio guides and learning everything I can. I pay attention during the year if there's any articles or latest research that pops up about Stonehenge. In other words, I've tried to learn everything I can. And this is just a little bit of what I've learned. Most scholars believe that Stonehenge was built over a period of about 1,000 years, beginning more than 5,000 years ago. Now, it's not actually clear who built it. Some call them beaker people because of their pottery. Others believe they were Neolithic farmers that started it. Or somebody just said, oh, we'll just call them Stonehenge builders. But the bottom line, who built it? We don't know. No idea. Why was it built? Well, it appears that it was some kind of a temple or center of ritual and ceremony that also marked the seasons, sat up on a hilltop. Was it a place of divine connection? Well, in some way, it seems that. It demonstrates some remarkable engineering and craftsmanship in the way it was put together. Again, how was it built? Don't know. Some of those stones in Stonehenge came from more than 150 miles away. And some of those stones weigh in the tons. How did they transport them over such long distances by such primitive people? And not only that, why did they select those stones? It would appear none of them were dug out of the hills right there nearby. They were all transported from some distance for a specific reason. What is it? No idea. They're called barrows, prominent burial mounds. And I mean, they're prominent. Why are they there? Mounds all around Stonehenge for all directions. Why are they there? I don't know. Who's buried there? Don't know that either. It is said that some of those stones, the blue stones, ring like a bell when you strike them. Could it be that Stonehenge was some kind of musical instrument? Don't know. There's an avenue that runs straight and narrow from the river across the rolling hills right up to Stonehenge. Why? Don't know. Scientists believe that Stonehenge was totally abandoned sometime around 800 BC, but no one knows why. So, in summary, then, this is what we know. Stonehenge was something meaningful and beautiful and perhaps even sacred in its day. But all that is left standing now is standing stone and endless questions. Why is that? Because nobody in the history of Stonehenge left a record, a diary, a journal, a history, or anything to reveal what had to have been a fascinating story. Dear friends, the last time I visited there, just a week or so ago, I stood and I stared at those magnificent stones when it suddenly struck me that when the ages have passed, those who have left no record or history of their lives will be just like Stonehenge, standing stones in a graveyard, begging endless questions. You might not think so, but I promise you, as the generations pass, your children, grandchildren, etc., are going to want to know everything about you. Leave them a record. Don't let them wonder and look at just a single standing stone in a cemetery. Dear friends, good night. God bless. And see you on Sunday in Edinburgh.